So we looked at implementing a node server that can return a list of widgets, and we are creating a small little client that can interact with that server. And we can list all the widgets. We can remove a particular widget. Let's add the capability of maybe creating a brand new widget. All right, so let's do that. Let's on the client side, perhaps what we can do in the HTML is create a line item here that is empty with has a right styling, and here we can create maybe a form, right? A form element, so this might be an input field. Let's see. There it is, our input field. And here's where we can type maybe the text of the title of the widget that we want to generate, and maybe a button here that allows you to create it. So let's put a button on the right hand side. So this might be a button, and this might be with add a button, there we go. Let's maybe send it all the way to the right hand side. There it is, and maybe paint it a little bit as a green, as in being able to create something. There it is. So what we'd like to be able to do is bind this input to maybe a state variable that keeps track of the text for that particular widget, right? So to do that, we use the double binding, right? That allows us to bind it to a variable in the component, right? So this would be ng model and map to a variable on the component, and we'll call it the text, right? The widget text, right? Which doesn't actually exist. Right? So in the component, perhaps we can actually it doesn't even need to be double binded. It could be just a local variable, right? It could be just a local variable here on the UI, and we can just when we click it, we can just pass it along, right? We can say add widget, and we can pass along just a text because text is declared as a local variable. I'm just passing it along here, right? So add widget doesn't exist. Let's declare it here, and this would be maybe actually a better name might be create widget. So create widget, and we'll declare it here. That takes the text of the widget and creates maybe a uses this service dot create widget, which doesn't exist, right? And pass it along maybe a text mapped to text, right? Maybe the type, the default type of heading. Right. The ID, I can leave it off to the server to handle. You know, if this would be a database, the database would be handling this, right? But we're going to leave it up to the server to decide, right? So yeah, create widget doesn't exist. So let's go and implement it in the service. So this will be a create widget that takes as arguments an actual widget object, right? And it does a fetch. Goes out to the same server, right? No ID. I don't have an ID because it's a brand new widget. And oops, wait a minute, like that, right? And this is the method is post. We'll need what else do we need? Let's see. We probably need headers to say that we will have to say that this is the content type, right? The content type should be interpreted as a JSON, so application JSON. We'll probably also need to pass in the body. We'll probably pass in the widget itself object, but stringified, right? So this would be JSON.stringify, and the widget that we pass along. Yes, all right. Obviously this is going to fail, right? Because the server is not going to be listening for us for this post, right? That means that on the server side, we need to be ready to handle this post over here, right? Which is being implemented by this create widget. This create widget needs to add this widget to the current array of widgets. Yes? So first it needs to get a hold of the actual widget object, and the widget object, it's actually stored in the body, right? In the body of the HTTP request that comes in. We need to get a hold of the body, so we can retrieve the body from the request body. There we go. All right. So that's going to be the widget, and then we can then add it to the array. The array is widgets. We're going to push the brand new widget onto the widgets array, so body. Right? And then we're just going to return. We're going to response.send back the widgets. Okay, all right. So let's restart the server. Let's see how far we got. Let's see if this blows up. Let's see. Oops. Why? What's going on here? Console ng model since is a known property of input. What? Ng model. Did we not declare a module form in module? Browser module, ng module, form. Oh, we didn't declare form. All right, so we need to, forms is not loaded by default, so we'll need to import it. So import form module. I don't remember what library it's in. Let's see if let's see. I think it's something we covered last week, no? Let's see. Course material and React Native Angular. Building, blah, 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 routing, deploying, interactive to Angular. Is it here? Form? No? Really? Components, Angular components, lists, events, forms. There we go. Why didn't I find it? There we go. Okay, so let's import the forms from Angular Forms, and then declare it as an import. So import. There we go. All right, so let's try that again. Okay, so now it's not complaining. Now it's not complaining. Excellent. We can go back to where we were in the list components. We're going to send the create service, right? The create widget. Let's see in the network. Let's see if it goes out. And we say add. All right. So notice that the first one is the pre-flight, right? Saying yes, you can do a get, a head, a post. We can do a widget. Right? So apparently something was added to the array, but it's null for some reason, right? Let's look at the server. Let's go back to the server and see what the server is receiving. Right? So if we put a breakpoint right here, and we do that again, right? And we send another one, add. Notice that the body is undefined. So it looks like the request, the body is not being parsed somehow, right? So I'm keep pushing nulls into the array. And I knew that. So what's happening here is that Node by default doesn't know anything about JSON specifically, right? It knows that the body can have all sorts of things, right? It can have just plain old text. It could be a file that's appended to the HTTP request. It could be a form that has been submitted. It could be any number of things that can be passed through the body. Yes. So by default, out of the box, it doesn't know how to retrieve or interpret the body as JSON. Right? So it doesn't know. So it doesn't currently have the body in there. So to handle this, we'll need to install another module. If we go to Express.js, Express.js. I can never remember the library. I think it's called something like body. Yeah, body parser. There it is. Body parser. Oops. So body parser is a module that knows how to parse all sorts of stuff from the body, from the HTTP body. Right? In particular, we want to be able to parse JSON objects. Right? But the body parser can parse all sorts of things. It can parse cookies. It can parse all sorts of headers. It can parse anything. Right? So we're gonna install this library, and we're also gonna configure it so that it can know how to parse JSON. All right. So let's do that. We'll go here, and in our Node.js, are we in the right place? No, that's not it. Column navigator. No, that's not where we want to be. Let's see. Let's go back up one. We'll go to our node, our brand new node server. Here we go. And right now, package.json doesn't have body parser installed as a dependency. We're going to install it. We're going to say npm install. Make sure I'm in the right version. nvm use 10. Okay. We're going to do npm install what's it called? Body parser. Body parser. Save. Okay, so that was installed now. And if we do a more on the package, notice that body parser now declares a dependency. Okay. So make sure that you add the -- save, otherwise it's not going to add it. All right, so we have that. Now that we have that, we can configure the server. We can configure the server. Let's go back to the server. Just like we configured here a course, we need to configure it to handle parsing JSON out of the body. So let's do that. And the recipe is right here. We're going to load body parser. Load body parser. We are going to configure it to parse JSON and be able to. And I don't believe I need that. All right, just going to leave that. I'm going to save that. Save that. And I'm going to restart the server. So let's restart the server. Let's go back to our client. And let's refresh. And so let's make this a little smaller. Oops. Not this. So now let's try to AWF. So it's add. What's going on? Did it post? Oh, it did. There we go. It created it. Looks like it created it. There's no ID. There's no ID. So in the server, we forgot to do that, right? We forgot to put the ID. But it looks like it's being added. Right, so what's going on here? Why it's not being rendered? It's not rendering probably because, let's see, on the client side, what do we do after we create? We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything, right? We just send it to create. Create posts it. We don't even parse the response, right? The response. And we're going to parse it as JSON. Right, it is coming back from the server, but we don't do anything with it, right? And then we then take the widgets, and then we update the local widget variable with the widgets coming from the server, right? So let's see if we refresh. There's our SDBF. So if we refresh, there they are. So if we add a new one, there it is. Right, and it's added at the bottom. Notice that we can remove the other ones. We can remove the other ones, but we can't remove these because there's no ID. So I can't find them. So I cannot remove them. So we need to make sure that we do add the IDs on the server side. So let's go on this back on the server, and in our widget server, when we create it, here's our body that we parse the widget from the body. Actually, let's give it a name, widget from the body. Right, there it is. And let's create an ID for it, right? Let's create a dummy ID for now. Right now what we could do is maybe do a new date and then get time. Oops. Get time. That will give us the next millisecond. as we progress towards the end of the universe. And we're just going to concatenate it with a string so that to convert it into a string, since we decided for it to be a string. Compatible, is it? Yes, it will, right? Because when we connect this to Mongo, these IDs are going to be unique identifiers generated by Mongo, and they're going to be strings. So it's good. It's forward compatible to whenever we use MongoDB next week, right? So also notice that I called it _ID because Mongo, right? Next week we'll see that that's what it uses for its unique identifier, right? All right. So let's try this again. Let's try to start the server. Right, there they are. So if we create add, right, we can delete all the other ones, and we should be able to delete the ones we created as well. Okay, make sense? All right, awesome.